Every cyclist has made one of these mistakes in winter. So listen up, folks. So you don't end up like this, cold, frozen and hungry on the roadside. Right, let's get into it because I am freezing and I need to warm up first. Time for a sauna, a hot shower, a bath, a radiator and a warm cup of coffee in that order. But first up, here's what to avoid. First up, and probably the key mistake you can make when it comes to winter riding, is underdressing, not wearing enough layers. I mean, look at me, I'm freezing. I feel like I'm about to start a rugby match when I was 11 years old and I was shivering from the temperature and not the fear. Either way though, this is a big mistake to make and you want to avoid it. So what I'd say is layer up like an onion, cover your skin and do not make the mistake of heading out in spring or autumn when temperatures can fluctuate and thinking it's going to be okay. So head out the door first, check the temperature, dress for the occasion, and don't be lulled to a false sense of security. Although to be fair, if you are climbing like this, you warm up rather quick, but it's those descents. I'm going to pay for it. Oh, give me a jacket, someone! I need a jacket!
It's the wind factor that makes you feel cold because you're constantly moving or descending and you're going to get cold. Whereas if, say, you went out for a jog, you wouldn't feel as cold. However, if you were to overdress, you wouldn't be cold, you would be uncomfortably hot. And then when you get too hot, you then want to take off the layers and then you have to carry the layers around with you, which can be a pain. The fact that you're sweating a lot too can actually make you cold. Say if you stop at a cafe, that sweat will cool down and then you'll just be a little bit damp and cold. But when you are dressing to go out, you want to layer. So you want to start off with a nice thick base layer, long sleeve one. Then you want a soft shell jacket, and then on top of that you can put a winter jacket, and then for an extra layer you can always take your raincoat, store it in your back pocket as another option if you do get a little bit cold. When you're riding in the heat and the warm, it's easy to stay hydrated because you're constantly thirsty, but when the weather's quite cold, it's not something that we're very good at keeping on top of, but it is just as important. Now, I do understand it is difficult and I'm really bad at it as well, drinking when it's cold, but if you are struggling, if you have a head unit, you can set alarms or timers on there to remind you to drink. So every 20, 30 minutes, get a little buzzer to come up and then make sure you sip on your drink. Thinking you can get away with any pair of gloves in the winter when the temperatures drop below 10 degrees is a mistake we've all made. We've all been out on the bike and our hands have been freezing. It kind of bites you and it can be quite dangerous as well. You can't brake properly, you can't change gear, you can't handle your bike properly. So make sure you invest in a good pair of winter gloves. I love these really thick ones. They keep my hands nice and toasty, and when they get wet, my hands don't get all soggy and cold as well. So do not underestimate a good pair of gloves, and it is really worth investing in them because safety. You want control of your bike when the temperatures drop.
Overshoes are a brilliant invention when it comes to keeping your feet warm. They work because they provide a shell layer over the top of your shoes, keeping out the rain, keeping out the cold, and keeping the warmth inside. A mistake you make when you first get into cycling and maybe haven't heard of the brilliance of overshoes is just going, what you normally wear, your cycling shoes, your normal shoes which you wear out on the bike, but instead trying to double up on socks underneath. That doesn't really work in my opinion because you end up constricting your feet inside your shoes, constricting that blood flow a bit more, which can mean that it's hard to keep your feet warm. Plus you don't have that shell layer around your shoes to keep in the warmth. Remember, cycling shoes, they're designed about breathability, so they can be rather chilly in the winter months. Instead, whap on those overshoes, keep the warmth inside, go for a thinner, maybe a merino or a woolly layer of socks that will keep your feet a bit warmer. Try and keep your shoes loose underneath your overshoes. Get them on, keep your warm feet. To mudguard or not to mudguard? That is the question. And I would say when it comes to winter, if you can, put the mudguards on. These days you can pretty much get anything that will fit a variety of bikes and give you some sort of protection from the elements. The reason mudguards are so good is because they keep the water from spraying up from the road onto you. You're already cold, it's winter, getting extra water and moisture on yourself is going to make you even colder. You'll be way more comfortable if you can get that coverage, protect yourself from the water, the muck, the grit and grime when it gets into the colder months. And you don't have to go for full coverage, you can go for something like I've got now, which does keep a bit off your bottom and your saddle area, but if you can, definitely go for those full mudguards. Big mistake when it comes to your bike setup in winter, maybe you're riding through winter for the first time, is not changing your setup from the summer.
Dude, again.
I'm really sorry.
Have you ever thought about like changing your tyres in something a bit more durable?
So what I would suggest, if you can, is swapping out your tyres as the first port of call and going for something with more puncture protection. It's got a thicker rubber on that's going to cope with any sort of debris, grit and grime on the roads, which can really increase your chance of a puncture during the winter. Also going wider, affording yourself a bit more grip as roads are slippery at this time of year. I'm not saying the tyres you normally use in the summer aren't going to provide puncture protection, I'm just saying to go for something that's got more, that's going to help you stopping at the side of the road and fixing a load of punctures which can really ruin your winter riding, and you don't want to be standing still, do you, when it's cold, fixing punctures in freezing on the roadside. Right, there you go, a few tips to help you get on the road and enjoy the winter months that bit more and don't make some really key errors that everyone has fallen foul from these at one point or another.
Yes, definitely. And if you have any of your own tips for keeping nice and toasty out on the bike, drop them in the comment section and make sure to give this video a big thumbs up.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.